My name is Caroline Stokes. I'm the CEO of Forward, and I am bringing together great brains throughout September and October to bring us forward in this new era. I am very excited on a Sunday morning to be speaking with Molly Mason-Boulé, who is Vice President Production and Operations at Electronic Arts. Molly has built the largest content creator organization in gaming and is a guest lecturer at USC Marshall School. Welcome, Molly.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm thrilled to be here on a Sunday morning with you.
I know, Sunday morning. Well, what were we thinking?
I don't know.
We're here. We're doing it. Well, I am really excited to find out from you because you have been involved in visual effects. You've been involved in animation. You've been involved very heavily in the transformation of Electronic Arts over a very, very long period of time through various ups and downs. This is obviously me speaking, but I'm very, very curious to find out, outside of EA, what are you stoked about in our new world?
I'm super stoked about the idea that everything is untethered at the moment. So things that were kind of rigid are now flexible.
Right.
And that presents some scary pivot moments for people to redesign their lives. And on the one hand, that's scary. On the other hand, it's just massively exciting. So if you think about things like school, people who homeschooled their children were like the outliers previously. And now they're actually set up to accelerate and actually provide a better education for their kids because this type of flexibility was a part of their lives. And now you're seeing this kind of wide lens on that. The way we approach work has greatly changed, obviously. I think the way that we connect to one another, our families, our friends, all of that has changed. And on the one hand, it really presents this separation. And on the other hand, it presents an opportunity to just sit in quiet over a camera and really focus on someone. And I'm not sure that that's exactly what's happened in our lives up until now. And so, it doesn't replace human touch or being together in a physical person, but it might present sort of an intellectual opportunity among like-minded people, among family and friends. So I just like the idea that things we assumed were fixed aren't. And what are the things we're going to benefit from as a result? I think there are many, many, many. So, not the least of which is the public discourse on equity. The fact that we're now having this conversation, and it's happened many times over the course of the last however many years, 60 years, 70 years, but truly having a conversation that feels different. I think that the work is going to be about the marathon here, not the sprint. It's easy to change your Facebook status or be excited about something in the moment and have genuinely so. It's another to be in the marathon on it. And I think now more than ever, we have people being very conscious and aware of the marathon many people have silently run and really the length that's left to go. And if you look at someone like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who just passed, obviously, she's been in this marathon a very, very long time. And I feel very strongly that women like you and I, we have to pick this cause up if we haven't already and really finish the race for her and with her legacy. So I think it's a scary time, but a super exciting time, actually.
Yeah. I had Raghav from Salesforce on the podcast the other day, and he was saying the same thing. We haven't had anything like this in our lifetime. It doesn't even really compare to the Second World War unless you were Germany. Yeah. And so, when they lost and they had to, completely pick up the pieces, but that was just an isolated case. This is a global situation now. So. But clearly there's something a lot deeper that's happening as well with regards to internet wars and government and things like that globally as well. But what I hear you completely on the idea of being untethered, not knowing where we are, and to take that as an opportunity to constantly change. But I have to say one thing, and you'll agree with me, I'm sure, is that it's exhausting.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I think people are trying to juggle all these different, let's say, dimensions of their lives, right? And when you have change in any one category, that's significant. When you have change in all categories, I think exhausting is one word for it, for sure. And I think when you listen truly to the testimony of people of color and underrepresented groups, that exhaustion faces every single dimension of how their lives play out. And I think it's time for us to bear witness to that. And then have a personal place where you can connect in and really understand that, because I think no matter who you are or where you come from right now, there's tremendous change, and it is exhausting. It's on every single front. And
I think as speaking as a white person, we're not used to that kind of hard work, hard mental work. Whereas clearly with Black Lives Matters, people of color, women, in usually we're so used to that challenge, and I've heard so many accounts of people of color and people speaking out with regards to Black Lives Matters, and they're saying, they are tired, they are exhausted. So when we go to them and say, as a white person, which I used to do a long time ago, it's like, tell me about what it is that you're going through. I think they held back on the eye rolls because it's like, I can read a book. I could read.
Yes.
I could do all of these things, but instead I was so used to, as a white privileged person, to just asking people, that's why I have a podcast.
I think the word privilege is key, because we put the responsibility for our self-learning on the underrepresented group.
Right.
And women, of all color and of all abilities, and in every other dimension, women have been asked to pick that responsibility up a lot, whether that be in the workplace, in the home, the role that one plays in a child's school experience, in every dimension. I think women have found themselves there as well. So it's just such a fascinating time. I mean, all the issues coming kind of free at once, and where is the new normal? How's it going to settle back in? There's opportunities in all of that. And I'm just kind of excited to witness it, participate, try to make a difference if I can. And it's an exciting time. Scary a little bit, but exciting.
Yeah, scary, exhausting, exciting. It's everything at 100% all the time, and all the change that comes with it. Thank you for that. So how do you think individuals and organizations can adapt to all of this?
Wow, I mean, that's a lot. So, that's a big question. I definitely am. You know me well. I have opinions. I'm never short on.
You just go for it, Molly.
Opinions. I think we have, and this is not based on any research at all. This is just my experience watching and experiencing my own career. I truly believe that we sort of ushered in a particular era of leadership in the 80s. And I believe that we have mellowed through a spectrum of time with this style of leadership. And I think we're in a new era of what employees want and how leaders need to show up to be successful. And I think in order for organizations to succeed in such a disrupted moment, there has to be a moment of self-reflection on where is the intersection of business decisions, operational decisions, and almost behaviors, and the values and needs of the people who work for and with the company. So as a leader, you sit in the middle of that. You sit at the intersection of what the company needs and what the people who are working for the company need to be successful. And I think now more than ever, we're sort of entering a new era of leadership and what's required of leaders, and what, let's call it, late millennials and Gen Z employees what they're really looking for. And they're really looking for purpose. They're looking for flexibility. They want to have a full life and a full career. They want both of those things happening. I think in the 80s and 90s, it was very much about sort of career, and then you fit your life in wherever you could find a space. Through the 2000s, you started hearing things like work-life balance. In the early 2000s, that's the first time as an employee and as a manager, I heard that concept be named and talked about. So I really do believe that in organizations, you have a moment in time where there's an awakening or an understanding of where the values and the business operations meet. And I liken it to a road trip. So come with me on this analogy. You declare the destination. You pile everybody into the car. And then you actually have to pull out of the driveway. And then there is a spectrum from the moment you pull out of the driveway to where you reach the destination. And I believe now in 2020, we are somewhere on that journey. I think we've pulled out of the driveway, in many cases in kind of the modern workplace. And I don't think we've reached the destination yet on matters of equity, on building trust with concepts like my words and my actions are going to match. And when they cannot match, you hear all about, we want authentic leadership. We want leaders to be authentic. Well, what that looks like for an employee is probably pretty different for each person, depending on what lens they've got. But broadly, you could see it as, I'm going to be transparent when the actions can't match what I said. And I'm going to come back to the people I made the commitment to or the statement to, and I'm going to recalibrate based on authentic, transparent communication. And what you do there is you actually protect that sort of bank account of trust that you've made deposits into. Because every time words and actions don't match, you're making withdrawals because people trust you less. They trust what the company says less. They trust their team leader less. So I think these are the lessons when people say, like the current narratives, bring your whole self to work. Well, we're seeing more than ever with a camera pointed into your home. It's forced that to be really real.
Yeah.
You know, and I've met more kids and pets and seen more, interesting cameos from all kinds of people as we pursue meetings. And honestly, it's a total joy because you get to see the humanity and the real relationships in your employees' lives. You can have more empathy. You can connect better. And again, that looks like a stressful disruption becoming an opportunity. It's an opportunity to connect differently. So I do think that organizations, and leaders who are looking to make the most of what today is offering in terms of change, think about those core values and those basic things like trust. What does it really truly mean when we hear bring your whole self to work, be an authentic leader? It's a lot that we hear about as leaders and managers. And so really embracing that and embodying what that looks like, I think is what the next gen of employees are. They're going to be loyal to that style because I do believe things have been slowly shifting since, the 80s, really. So those are my armchair theories, Miss Stokes.
Very good.
In my job.
I love it. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the time is now. It's really a case of whether or not the C-suite can handle that kind of transition because they've been through a lot this year. And the drum is really, really loud on all of these societal and economic issues and the way that people are looking to now associate themselves with meaningful work, meaningful employers, meaningful ways of being able to interact. So I agree. That is the future. I think we do have some way to go, and we need the real leaders to come up and say, okay, we know we need to change, and this is how we're going to go about it. So, and that's why I actually have my workplace EQ course for the C-suite starting in October, because they don't know what they don't know. They've been, like bunny rabbits in the middle of the highway, just trying to keep things going. Trying to be relevant right now. It's
think about, they're leading full lives too. These are people with children and pressures and the whole list of things. School, how do I lead authentically? What does it mean to move my organization through the change? And, I think working in entertainment and technology-driven entertainment specifically, I've had the good fortune of working with progressive companies and having leaders whose mindset is pretty open, about receiving feedback, attempting to be authentic in those moments. I truly do believe strongly that we're going to come out of this better than when we entered.
Definitely.
That more people's needs will be met, not less. That will probably bring better product to the marketplace versus not. I think there's a huge opportunity to be successful here. I really, really do.
Excellent. I'm with you. So tell me, what good trouble are you creating, Molly?
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm always positive in some way. Well, I think I'm very vocal about, taking those moments when a stand isn't a political statement, but it's just a great opportunity to incite change. And so I look for every opportunity to influence the next gen of leaders.
Nice.
To think differently. And that's why, guest lecturing, when I have the good fortune of being asked to USC's Marshall School, it's just a privilege to talk to the next generation of business students and business leaders and help them understand these core principles. What does it look like to truly have your actions and words match? What does it look like to attract talent because they're shared values? It's like those basic concepts. They're easy to talk about. They're hard to implement. But if you can put those chips in their bag early on, and you can talk about diversity, and you can allow them to understand the business proposition in diversity, for example, not just the very important social issues around equity, but how it actually impacts their role in the workplace. And as leaders, what role can they take to ensure that we have that future? So the good trouble I'm getting into is, I'm hammering and chiseling these things into as many young leaders as I can get my hands on.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, that's wonderful. Very good. So tell me, doing that is wonderful. You're senior. You're very influential. Why is it emotionally intelligent to do that? Because most people would think, you're going to be very focused on, doing the best for the organization that you're in. But tell me why that is emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, here's another really basic concept, really, and I think it's common sense. Emotional intelligence and really tapping into how people are motivated. At the end of the day, that creates loyalty. It creates an inspirational environment. And again, I'm in entertainment and technologically driven entertainment. People need to be inspired to do their best work. And you have to be able to create an environment where people are feeling like they're totally connected to the purpose, that they are willing to give what they've got. And it's very, very important, not only for business outcomes, but to truly create a game-changing environment. People have to be bought in to the purpose, inspired to be there, not distracted by, negative ways of influencing and really what I think are old methodologies from the 80s and 90s. I think it's all about what difference can we make together and how each person plays a valuable part. So I think it's very emotionally intelligent to care about these things.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And thank you for saying that, because it's all connected, and people's emotions are involved in that. And if they're not able to bring their whole selves to it, then it impacts everything.
Well, they're holding it back, right? They're going to be holding it back. They're going to be giving you a piece, and you really want them to be able to do their life's work, if you're doing it right, at your organization. And in order to do that, you really have to create an environment where it's okay to contribute. And it's okay to contribute in whatever way you want to contribute. And those are very different ways of thinking about teaming, for example. And understanding different cultures. We're more global than ever. We work in many, many countries. We have business units that are across multiple countries. So this is the hard part, how do you connect those concepts into multiple cultures? It's not easy to do. I think it takes constant work. And one thing that's very interesting right now is my leadership team, we've had what we call the 6-week rule. Face-to-face interaction between team members in different countries. After you go home, there's about a 6-week period where maximum connective tissue is there. And then it starts to revert back to the distance in some small, subtle ways. And so, how do you tune business travel? There's still a very important place for making that in-person investment. But I think that's the tuning exercise for global organizations now, is how do you get thought processes of the future in place, in addition to tuning operations around the world, when you're not able to just jump on a plane to sort of create that teaming. So it's an interesting time on that front too. It's good to not travel as much. I'm going to admit that. I've been on a plane a lot over the last, let's call it 15 years. And so it's kind of a beautiful thing to not be measuring my time at home by my next travel date. So that's been interesting and kind of fun.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
More time with the dog. That's brilliant.
Definitely.
Really great. So, what would you say is one thing that you can offer to viewers that they can take away and maybe start playing with?
I'd say really get clear, because I think this, again, we've got a lot of opportunities in this time of change, and it's a nice time to take a step back in whatever way you can and really review what your values are in light of the changes that are on the table. And really be clear about this. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need complicated modeling. You just need to know what you care about. And figure out what you care about, and then figure out how it intersects with the role you play in your organization, and see if you can't start bringing, more inspiration to what you do. Because when you truly are coming from that place of values, it shows up. So yeah, that's a big deal. That's what I would say, is really take this moment to really get clear about what you care about, what your values are. Challenge people, interject into your workplace the connection between values and performance. Really.
Wonderful. Yeah. Molly, you've been a fabulous guest on Friday morning. It's so much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
It's been great. And I wish you a wonderful rest of the day.
Indeed. See you soon, Caroline. Thank you.